Before we begin today's presentation, here is a brief and unrelated word. Quite apart from today's subject, there is also a separate book series titled Psyop Christianity, written by Ron Allen Curtis Ratzlaff, under the pen name The Awakened Hybrid. It is its own, entirely different investigation. That work stands on its own. Across 7 volumes, it examines historical anomalies in the origins of Christianity and makes the evidence-driven case that the faith was shaped deliberately by the Roman Empire. If that separate subject interests you, the complete series is available now on Amazon. Simply search Psyop Christianity or scan the code on screen. Now, let us begin. Episode 4. From Ararat to Avalon. A chronological reconstruction of Syro-Anatolian presence in prehistoric and ancient Britain through multi-proxy analysis. Part 4. The Roman period and beyond. Circa 43 CE, 500 CE, Section 4.1. The Roman Conquest and its demographic impact. The Roman conquest of Britain, initiated under the Emperor Claudius in 43 CE, represents a watershed in the history of the British Isles and a critical juncture for understanding the movement of Eastern Mediterranean populations into the region. The conquest was not a single event, but a protracted process of military subjugation, political incorporation, and cultural transformation that extended over several decades and encountered sustained resistance, particularly in the western and northern regions of the island. The Roman province of Britannia, once established, became an integral component of the imperial system, linked by administrative structures, military deployment, and commercial networks to the broader Mediterranean world. The demographic impact of the Roman conquest and subsequent imperial administration has been the subject of extensive scholarly debate. The traditional model posited substantial migration from across the empire, with soldiers, administrators, merchants, and slaves from diverse regions settling in Britain and contributing to the formation of a Romano-British population. Revisionist scholarship has challenged this model, arguing that the Roman period saw relatively limited demographic change and that the Romano-British population was primarily descended from the pre-Roman Iron Age inhabitants. The genetic evidence for Roman period population movements has been significantly clarified by recent ancient DNA studies. The analysis of Roman-era genomes from Britain has revealed substantial genetic diversity in Roman period populations, with individuals carrying ancestry components from across the Roman Empire, including the Near East, North Africa, and continental Europe. The discovery of individuals with specifically Near Eastern genetic profiles in Roman period Britain provides direct evidence for the movement of Eastern Mediterranean populations to the British Isles during the imperial period. Section 4.2. Epigraphic. Evidence for Syro-Phoenician presence in Roman Britain. The Epigraphic Record of Roman Britain provides the most direct and unambiguous evidence for the presence of individuals of Syro-Phoenician origin in the provincial. Latin inscriptions from military and civilian contexts document the presence of soldiers, merchants, and officials bearing names and identifying markers that indicate origins in the Syro-Phoenician region. These inscriptions provide a detailed picture of the Eastern Mediterranean diaspora in Britain during the 1st through 4th centuries CE. The military inscriptions are particularly informative. The Roman army in Britain included auxiliary units recruited from across the empire, including units originally raised in the eastern provinces. The Cohors I Hamiorum, a unit of archers originally recruited in the region of Hama in Syria, was stationed at the fort of Carvoran on Hadrian's Wall during the 2nd century CE. Inscriptions from this fort document the presence of soldiers bearing Syrian names and dedicating altars to Syrian deities, providing evidence for the maintenance of Eastern Mediterranean religious and cultural traditions in the British frontier zone. The most famous epigraphic evidence for Syro-Phoenician presence in Roman Britain is the tombstone of Regina, discovered at the fort of South Shields on the eastern terminus of Hadrian's Wall. The inscription, written in both Latin and Palmyrene Aramaic, records that Regina was a freedwoman and wife of Barates, a man from Palmyra in Syria. The Palmyrene text, read from right to left, records the essence of this remarkable cross-cultural partnership. The bilingual nature of the inscription and the use of the Palmyrene script alongside Latin demonstrates the persistence of Syro-Phoenician linguistic and cultural identity among diaspora communities in Roman Britain. The civilian inscriptions provide additional evidence for Syro-Phoenician commercial presence. Inscriptions from London, Colchester, and other urban centers document the presence of merchants and traders with Eastern Mediterranean origins. The discovery of a dedication to the goddess Astarte at Corbridge and of altars dedicated to Jupiter Dolichenes, a deity of Syrian origin, at multiple sites along Hadrian's Wall, indicates the establishment of Eastern Mediterranean religious cults in Britain, serving the spiritual needs of the diaspora community and attracting indigenous converts. Section 4.3. The Numismatic Record of Eastern Mediterranean Connections. The numismatic evidence for Eastern Mediterranean connections in Roman Britain extends beyond the presence of standard imperial coinage to include specific issues and patterns that indicate sustained commercial and administrative links between Britain and the Syro-Phoenician region. The Roman monetary system, with its standardized coinage and integrated financial administration, facilitated the movement of capital and the conduct of long-distance trade across the empire, creating documentary evidence for economic connections that can be traced through the numismatic record. The presence of Eastern mint coins in British contexts provides one indicator of these connections. Coins minted at Antioch, Alexandria, and other Eastern mints have been recovered from Romano-British sites, indicating either direct importation or the movement of individuals carrying Eastern coinage to Britain. The concentration of these Eastern issues at military sites and urban centers suggests that they were associated with the movement of soldiers and merchants rather than representing normal currency circulation patterns. The hoard evidence provides additional insights into the financial dimensions of Eastern Mediterranean connections. The analysis of coin hoards from Roman Britain has revealed patterns of accumulation and deposition that suggest the presence of substantial financial resources in the province, some of which may have derived from Eastern Mediterranean commercial activity. The discovery of hoards containing significant quantities of gold coinage, particularly from the late Roman period, indicates the concentration of wealth that may have been generated through long-distance trade. The financial administration of Roman Britain, documented through administrative sources and official records, reveals the integration of the province into the imperial fiscal system. The presence of imperial procurators and other financial officials in Britain, and the documentation of tax collection and military pay records, indicates the operation of sophisticated administrative mechanisms that linked Britain to the imperial center, and through it to the broader Mediterranean economy. Section 4.4 Archaeological evidence for Syro-Phoenician material culture in Roman Britain. The archaeological record of Roman Britain contains extensive evidence for the presence of Syro-Phoenician material culture, reflecting both the importation of Eastern Mediterranean goods and the maintenance of Eastern Mediterranean cultural practices by diaspora communities. This evidence takes multiple forms, including imported pottery, glass, metalwork, and architectural elements, as well as the material correlates of Eastern Mediterranean religious practices and dietary traditions. The ceramic evidence is particularly informative. Eastern Mediterranean amphorae, used for the transport of wine, olive oil, and other commodities, have been recovered from Romano-British sites, indicating the importation of Eastern Mediterranean agricultural products. The analysis of the contents of these amphorae through residue analysis and the study of associated organic remains has confirmed the presence of specifically Eastern Mediterranean commodities, including dates, figs, and certain varieties of wine that were produced in the Syro-Phoenician region. The glass evidence provides additional support for Eastern Mediterranean connections. The Roman glass industry was centered in the Syro-Phoenician region, particularly at Sidon and other coastal cities, and Syrian glassmakers were renowned throughout the empire for their technical skill. The presence of Syro-Phoenician glass vessels in Romano-British contexts, including both luxury items and more utilitarian forms, indicates the importation of Eastern Mediterranean manufactured goods. The discovery of glassworking debris at some British sites suggests that Syrian glassmakers may have been present in the province, transmitting their technical knowledge to local craftsmen. The religious architecture and material culture provide some of the most compelling evidence for the maintenance of Syro-Phoenician cultural traditions in Roman Britain. The temples and shrines dedicated to Eastern Mediterranean deities, including Jupiter Dolichenes, Mithras, and Isis, incorporate architectural elements and ritual paraphernalia that reflect Eastern Mediterranean religious practices. The discovery of votive offerings, including figurines, altars, and ritual vessels, at these sites indicates the performance of specifically Eastern Mediterranean ritual activities in the British context. Section 4.5 The Late Roman and Post-Roman Transition. The decline of Roman imperial authority in Britain during the late 4th and early 5th centuries CE, and the subsequent emergence of post-Roman British kingdoms represents a period of profound transformation with significant implications for understanding the persistence of Syro-Phoenician population elements in Britain. The traditional narrative emphasizes the collapse of Roman institutions, the migration of Germanic populations, and the retreat of Romanized Britons into the western regions of the island. However, recent archaeological and genetic research has revealed a more complex picture, with significant continuity of population and cultural traditions alongside the documented changes. The fate of the Eastern Mediterranean diaspora in Britain during this transitional period remains poorly understood. The withdrawal of Roman military forces and the collapse of the imperial administrative system would have disrupted the institutional frameworks that supported the diaspora communities, potentially leading to assimilation, migration, or the transformation of diaspora identity. The absence of epigraphic evidence from the post-Roman period, reflecting the decline of literacy and monumental inscription, makes it difficult to trace the subsequent history of these communities through documentary sources. The genetic evidence for the persistence of Eastern Mediterranean ancestry in post-Roman Britain has been addressed by recent ancient DNA studies. The analysis of early medieval genomes from Britain has revealed a complex pattern of population continuity and change during the Anglo-Saxon migration period. While the dominant genetic signal in early medieval Eastern England reflects substantial migration from continental northern Europe, the persistence of earlier British ancestry components, including those with Mediterranean affinities, indicates that the pre-existing population was not completely replaced. The possibility that Syro-Phoenician population elements persisted in Britain through the post-Roman transition and contributed to the formation of early medieval British populations has significant implications for understanding the cultural and institutional continuities that link Roman Britain with the early medieval period. The persistence of Eastern Mediterranean religious traditions, including certain forms of Christianity that may have had Syro-Phoenician roots, and the maintenance of commercial connections with the Mediterranean world, documented through the continued importation of Mediterranean pottery and other goods during the 5th and 6th centuries, suggests that the Roman period diaspora may have contributed to the cultural landscape of post-Roman Britain. Stay tuned for episode 5. This presentation was produced by Creatic Media, a veteran-owned digital studio. We build production-grade progressive web apps and custom software. Our own trivia platform, Muse Ion Trivia, shows exactly what we can deliver for your business. We also offer fully built business websites and ready-to-launch templates, from done-for-you sites to affordable starter designs. We also create marketing commercials using localized on-premise AI, giving small businesses broadcast quality ads for a fraction of the cost of a full marketing team. And because everything runs on our own hardware, your project never touches a remote data center. Your data stays private. Visit creaticmedia.com to start your project today. That concludes episode 4. Stay tuned for episode 5, where our investigation continues. We will see you there.